Good to have you back with us here on New Day on this Friday. In the aftermath of Freddie Gray's death, the mayor of Baltimore has asked the Justice Department to conduct a full-scale civil rights investigation into the patterns and practices of the Baltimore Police Department. Is the investigation necessary? Here to weigh in. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Harry Haug, retired NYPD detective. Marc Lamont Hill's also here, CNN political commentator and HuffPost Live. I have my Wheaties, so I'm ready to intervene. I'm ready to go. Not with you two, but standing between the two of you. We know you often are on different sides of this, but I think it makes for a really robust conversation. First of all, Marc, let's start with you. This is what the community and activists and leaders in Baltimore have been asking for. You think it's justified?
I think it's absolutely justified. Even before this incident happened, there was ample evidence to suggest that we needed some sort of investigation. When you talk to people on the ground, that's what we hear. When we look at the amount of money that's been doled out for police cases, when we look at just the tensions between community, all of these things suggest that something needs to be done. This is one way to do it. And this isn't a quick fix. This is a 9 to 12, maybe even 14-month investigation. This is not a quick media fix. This is something that's substantive, that's really designed to fix the community. I think it's a great thing.
And Harry, if there are a lot of people saying, hey, the unjust and excessive practices of a department need to be examined, it's worth taking at least a look at, is it not?
Sure, but we're going to have another one-sided report like we did in Ferguson.
Why do you say that?
I read the Ferguson report, all right, and I went through it line by line, all right? It was completely one-sided. Officers weren't interviewed. They didn't check out their the people that they spoke to see if their stories were true. You can sit there and read it, and you could see that it was completely one-sided.
People can be wrong if they've felt that they have been unfairly treated?
Well, first of all, I don't think it was thousands of people that they spoke
in Baltimore,
to. I mean, I know they looked. Well, you know, you're allowed to go ahead and you are allowed to demonstrate, but not riot. All right. See, the fact here is I believe that the mayor, all right, is responsible.
Why?
Because, well, first of all, it was her leadership, all right, her direction, where police officers went out and they allowed rioters to destroy property, correct? We have the video of her doing that. And then we also have the video showing that the police officers were in action. It was under her leadership and direction that police officers went out there without helmets.
Marc?
Okay?
Let's assume everything you just said is true, and I believe everything you said is not true. But let's concede for a moment that it were.
Right.
Wouldn't that be more evidence for why the DOJ should step in? If you have so little faith in her leadership, isn't that why the federal government should step in and do an investigation?
Yeah, but you think the federal government's going to come in and they're going to point the finger at her? I don't think so. Well, no, not a liberal administration going to come in and they're going to point at the liberal mayor in Baltimore. And the fact is that I'm tired of hearing, all right, that the big problem with Baltimore is the police department, and it's not.
Well, it's not the only problem, but it's
there are
lots of problems that I don't think anyone has ever.
Yeah, but everything's directing towards the police department.
I don't think. No, I disagree. I mean, I think there have been entire studies done. There's been lots of media coverage prior to this. There's even a show you may have heard of called The Wire that looked at 5 different dimensions of.
Oh, yeah, of course,
so there are all sorts of ways to think about Baltimore. But if law enforcement is one of them, let's investigate that at the same time that we try to do these other things. And I agree with you. It's a complicated problem, but it precedes the mayor. There have been police problems in Baltimore before she was in office, and with a DOJ investigation.
Baltimore has been under Democratic rule for almost 50 years. All right, so why?
See, this is a political battle.
This is all politics. Are you kidding me? It's all about politics and money.
But
how come they haven't taken care of that part of the city? Why are the youth centers closed there? Who closed those?
Okay, but right? That's not an argument for not doing a DOJ investigation. That's an argument for doing a DOJ investigation and opening community centers. We can do both of those things. We can walk, we can chew gum, we can do all of that.
Sure, exactly.
So, but you started this by saying that you don't want to do a DOJ investigation. I'm saying let's do one.
No, I didn't say I didn't want it.
So you
you're okay with doing one?
Just as long as it's not one-sided, and we're going to see it.
Okay,
the Ferguson case was completely one-sided. I mean, you know, you've got to do your due diligence. When you interview somebody, you got to find out if somebody's telling you the truth. All right, they didn't do that in that report.
So who would you like to see come in to do an investigation? Because if the fact is, if the police do an investigation, it's going to seem one-sided from the black community. Do you see what I mean? So how?
Well, no, I understand, but when I read the report, I want to be able to read that report and say, listen, okay, this is not a one-sided report.
So, for example, in Ferguson,
right? I mean, there are problems within the police department. Everybody does know that.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying. So, in the case of racist emails, they said there's a pattern of racist communication among police. When they put up the racist emails, you're saying they should have gone to the police and said, hey, did you really mean to be racist here?
You know, you got a couple emails that a couple crazy cops sent out.
But it
Does
wasn't
that make the whole police department?
No, and I don't
There's only like 12 cops in Ferguson. It was like Mayberry. I mean, that's part of the issue here.
Well, let's go back to Baltimore here. Let's not talk about Ferguson.
You brought up Ferguson.
Baltimore.
You brought up
I
Ferguson.
brought up the report.
So am I.
Okay?
I'm responding to you bringing up the report.
Another thing I don't like is the fact that police officers, all right, are used as pawns in this political game.
Okay, so let's
all right,
time
why
out
are
for a
police
second.
officers going out there without helmets?
So what about the idea of everyone owning their part of the problem? Because we will all agree that there is a problem in Baltimore. Part of it stems from...
I would love to see that. You think the mayor's going to come out and say, I'm part of the problem?
Maybe she will.
No, but here's you know what fixed
I'd love to see
I got
that.
a great idea.
I would
You know
absolutely
what
love to see
allowed
that.
that to happen? An outside DOJ investigation, because now they can look and say, hey, what's coming down top down? What's going on at the
I got
department
no
level?
problem with that. Just as long as I can read the report and I say, listen, this is a fair report.
Okay, and
that's all I'm really interested in. And if you read that Ferguson report, it's not a fair report.
Okay,
it's just not.
We're back to Ferguson now, but again,
The report.
Right. And so if we're talking about the report in Ferguson, I mean, I think there were a few problems with the Ferguson report in terms of the number of police that are there.
Thank you, sir.
No. I mean in terms of the process, but I never disputed that. You're arguing a point I never made.
Right.
But when we go back to Baltimore, I think there's a wider range of people to talk to. There's a much more complicated web of things we have to deal with. That's why the report's going to take much longer.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. We need to get a lot of information from a lot of people. I think we all agree with that.
We do. That is a premise we can at least agree on.
Yes.
The two of you, thank you so much for your passionate arguments. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, you can use that hashtag on Twitter, New Day CNN, or also jump on Facebook.